Hello and good morning. Another lovely sunny day, but still trapped indoors, sadly. So today we're going to count down my top 10 stone finds, including fossils. There's not so much information on these finds, as stone in itself is very difficult to date. So it may look, say a carved stone might look medieval, but it might be a Victorian revival or something like that. So there won't be quite as much information, but I hope you'll enjoy seeing the finds. The first one, we're going up to the garage. Okay, there was no way that I was carrying number 10 down to the house to film it in the conservatory, so I'm filming it in situ in the garage, and it is a massive piece of stone from one of London's bridges, I presume. It's got a nicely curved, finished edge that side, and it's broken off all the other sides, but you can see really how thick it is. But what's interesting about it is it has got some graffiti on it. There are a couple of pairs of initials. Looks like TLLE and then IH 1752. So a date there. I don't know if you can see it. I'll try and photograph it at an oblique angle so you can get a better look at the graffiti. Which means that this bridge or parapet or whatever it was erected before 1752. So I'm not quite sure how old the bridge would be. Probably after the Great Fire of London, I expect. But it's interesting that someone was whiling away their time waiting for someone on a bridge, who knows whom, and they had time to write IH 1752 scratched in. I is often the abbreviation for J, so we're looking at maybe JH as well. But a nice, huge, chunky piece of one of London's bridges. So that was number 10, the very heavy piece of bridge. So number 9, we go back a few million years to a very interesting brain-shaped coral. I think it must be coral, but it's on flint. So these would have formed on the seabed many millions of years ago, and someone more knowledgeable than me might be able to describe what sort of coral that is, but a sort of brain-shaped coral where the coral has been replaced by flint. That's number 9. And number 8 is another fossil, and this is actually part of the root of a tree palm. So sort of very palmy type big bushes, probably eaten by dinosaurs, I don't know. But anyway, and that's little dots where I suppose roots or shoots would grow from. So that's another Thames fossil. All these items found eyes only on the Thames foreshore. So that's number 8. Number 7 is quite easy to find, and that's coral. I'm not sure whether you count this as a fossil or whether it's just recently growing coral that's been brought here as ballast by ships, trading ships. But anyway, not too hard to find nice chunks of coral. Obviously they don't grow naturally here in the UK, so that is number 7. From the Thames. Now at number 6, we're up to man-made objects now. So this stone, I think it's lost about half of it, but you can see it would have had a square shaft in the middle where a drive rod or shaft would go, and then you could spin the stone around and use it for grinding or sharpening. I suppose it's probably for grinding tools. Again, difficult to date, but I guess it's probably post-medieval. So a grindstone is number 6. Number 5, whetstones. So these are close-grained, often volcanic rock, and be that sort of shape, normally with a suspension hole. That's broken where the hole was, and that has rather a crude hole through it. So these would be used, hung from the belt, and used to sharpen tools, knives and bladed weapons, of course. So whetstones, imported from the Rhineland and from Norway. I haven't done any research on these stones to try and work out what sort of stone they are or where they originally came from. But that is number 5. Top 4 now. So number 4 is a very beautiful piece of carved mortar. So this would be a big bowl, probably with 4 projections like that round the rim, maybe to help it be lifted, and then a round bowl for grinding stuff, whether in cooking or in early chemistry or in medicine, something like that. But it has got a very nice carved exterior there, quite a heavy stone, like a marble I suppose, a marble mortar. So that's a nice chunk. Again, difficult to date, could be medieval, could be early post-medieval, I would think. Number 4. Number 3 is a piece of carved stone, like a flower, maybe from a roof boss, perhaps. Could you imagine that on the roof of some building? Broken off, quite small, obviously some age to it, but again, difficult to date, so I'll just give a broad medieval or post-medieval date to that object. But another intriguing find from the Thames foreshore, very pretty and makes a nice display piece, I think. Okay, top 2. So number 2 is a lovely chunk of Lapis lazuli. So semi-precious stones can be found in the Thames. Obviously the Thames garnets as a good example, and there's been lots of theories about where they come from. Now lapis lazuli comes originally, I think the first sources were in Afghanistan, and it was traded as a luxury item in the medieval period and post-medieval period. Again, impossible to say whether this is a medieval stone that's been lost. It would have been very valuable in those days, or just a Victorian souvenir perhaps brought back. But blue in medieval times is a very, very difficult and expensive colour to reproduce before it was chemically made later on. And so they would use lapis lazuli to make expensive pigments. So that's an intriguing find, but a lovely bit of semi-precious stone, number 2. Number 1 is another piece of carved stone. I took this to the Museum of London, and their stone expert had a little scratch of it and declared that it was Caen stone, C-A-E-N. So Caen in northern France produced the finest building stone in the medieval period, which probably means that this is a piece of medieval carved stone. Difficult to decide what it's from. I keep on looking at it and thinking it might be a bird, So you've got like feet, 2 wings, and then a little neck and beak. There, maybe the pelican in its piety. Pelican's supposed to feed its young from its own flesh. A common medieval symbol. But who knows, might be a skull, teeth, nose holes, and then the rest of the face there. So it could be from a tomb or a monument. But very interesting. So cornstone medieval sculpture is my #1 stone find from the Thames foreshore. Thanks for watching, and we will put together another top 10 very soon. And now, as an added bonus, I will show you round my storeroom of antiquities. Some people ask, where do you store your finds? Well, now you are going to have access all areas. Look at my pottery store. Behold the Cave of Wonders. Right, since neither of our 2 cars will fit in the garage, I'd rather taking it over. So there's material from 3 sources here. So I've got stuff from the Thames, which is mostly in these boxes here, sorted according to type. And then I've got stuff from my early 20th century tip, which is stored along there. And then I've got my borderware material from the Caen site, which is 17th century, and most of that is in these drawers, in these old units there, or boxes. And then I've got some cool stuff in my little cabinet here. So the top is Roman. A lot of this comes from Steve Trim, so thank you for those donations. And then going down chronologically, some borderware stuff there from the Caen site. Some 17th century, some Delftware, some salt glazed stoneware, and then going down to some complete pots which I've had from car boot sales. So that is my way of storing the stuff that won't fit in the house for whatever reason. Some more complete stuff from car boots, a little bit from eBay as well. There, so I hope you've enjoyed that guided tour, and I'll pick out some of my stuff now for another top 10.